What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, how you doing?
Doing real good.
Good.
So what have you been up to?
Not too much.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
kidding Dad the other day. I said, because Mom passed away, I said, you need to talk to Michael about getting a motorhome from him. He goes, oh, not right now.
Yeah. Get back on the road.
Yeah, I told him this year. I said, well, we're gonna go. He goes, oh, I don't know. So, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, last week I missed it. Had a bunch of stuff going on. I was late, and so it didn't work.
No, it's all good. All good. Everything go well?
Yeah, everything's been going well. My throat's been doing good, and that acupuncture's been working good, so can't complain.
Nice.
Yep.
Yo.
Hi guys. Hi.
Hi guys.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Everybody's under the weather a little bit.
Hi Jason.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right.
I didn't think you were gonna be here.
Yeah.
I'm always
You
here.
made it.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, I hope you all know that there aren't too many people that I'd stay up late for. So
Yeah. I was almost drooling on myself at 8, so I had to push it.
it's not
Got
too
my-
often. It's not too often I get both pinkies in one room at the same time. So
Yeah.
I couldn't stay
I mean-
up
Um, yeah, let's just get started because I don't know if Brandon's coming or not. I text me, but so yeah, I put in the title, I heard a cool message. It was like, I put in the title about, don't worry about the people that God removes from your life. And the message was more like, it was a kind of super positive angle from it. It was pretty cool. So I wanted to chat on that, and it's not really like in terms of like the loss that we talk about a lot of time, experiencing like having somebody pass away or something unexpected like that, but more about just like relationships that come in and out of your life, or people in general. It doesn't even have to be a long-term relationship. People in general coming in and out of your lives, and kind of what it means, what your role is, what your responsibility is, and that as long as they stay or don't, that not to worry about when God removes people from your life, because what he's doing is he sees things that you didn't. Right? We're in a relationship anyway. We meet somebody for the new time or for the first time, and it's new. Everything's intriguing because it's a brand new thing. It's like starting a new job or learning a new skill or craft. When we meet new people, especially when we engage with them quickly and talk or something, it's like it becomes very interesting. And that's why there's all these, studies about the first 3 months of relationships being everything's heightened. And after that, once you get to know each other enough, you start to lose interest, or it settles, or it settles into place, and you're not pursuing like you should continue to do. I'm a huge believer in like doing all sorts of things. I like taking notes in my phone. I mean, something I'm intrigued with, like I like to take notes while I'm having conversations with them, not like let them see me writing stuff down, but immediately after the conversation, or if I leave, I like to like fill in a lot of notes so that I have more questions later. So if I see them again, that I'll have more questions that are prevalent, that matter, not just like small talk. So I like to do things like that. And I like to challenge the fact of like being in any relationship, friends, women, colleagues, to have a stimulating conversation for a long time. Right? Like, how do we maintain that for past the 3 months or 4 months or weeks, whatever the studies say? Like, how do you break what are considered to be our societal norms? And just because there's a stat on something doesn't mean we gotta live by it, right? We're called anomalies. That's why we're on this together. We don't do things normally. So when I say, don't worry about people that God removed from your life, you got to trust that he always sees things that you don't. When somebody's removed from your life, he saw things that you didn't. And sometimes that's just caught up in the fact that you're still in a learning stage of being intrigued by something or someone, that you're ignoring some other things. He also hears conversations that you don't hear. We choose to listen to what we want sometimes. That's why it's easy to get involved in a shitty situation sometimes, because it's all what we tell ourselves, right? It's all what we tell ourselves for acceptance. What's okay? Well, if I just have a couple of drinks, I'll just go have, like, we're always talking to ourselves and trying to convince ourselves of who we are, like 24/7. Like it's nobody else. Nobody peer pressures us. They made me do it bullshit. It's always you talking to you. Like, you're always convincing yourself yes or no. Right. And so sometimes it's easy to be misheard by yourself, or just completely ignore conversations that are happening in front of you. So that's what God's got your back for. He hears conversations that you couldn't hear. And he makes moves, most importantly, that you would never make. Right? He makes moves. Remember, he's already got it laid out for you. There's already a plan. God is willing to let you on your own. He's willing to have you on a leash for a while, and then, you know what? Your dog is doing well. He doesn't need a leash. You can go out to pee. I trust him to come back in. God has that trust in your faith, and vice versa. He wants to be able to let you out the front door and know you're going to come back. And maybe while you're out there, you go fuck around and get lost in the woods, or your owner gets pissed off and has to yell for you, or you go shit in somebody's yard. You're going to do something bad sometimes, but the idea is to be able to come back to your center. So sometimes we're doing moves that we don't even want to be doing for ourselves, but again, in his trust, he removes people from our lives because he sees things, he hears things, and he makes moves that we wouldn't, and he does them for us. Now, whether we recognize or see it in the moment is a whole different story. Some people don't see what's right in front of them, and we try to force something. So, keeping our eyes open to the fact that he's got our back, and if you see something right in your face, we talked about this before, about sometimes we ask God for something and we feel like he's not listening, because sometimes you're asking him the wrong thing. Sometimes you're just asking him what you want, your immediate needs. We get selfish sometimes in what we think we need right now, but what we really need is already planned for us, and he knows that. So we got to keep our eyes open to the moves he's making for you. And that it's okay that people come in and out of your lives, regardless of how you feel about them or not, good or bad. If another person becomes the center of your focus, and they become even a little bit responsible for the fulfillment of any of your joy in life, you will continue to be hurt over and over. If you have that mentality that you want to overdo, and you put more focus on somebody in front of you than even yourself, and lay any responsibility on them for what kind of joy comes from you, that's going to be a problem. It's always going to be a problem. So I heard this past year said something like, along the lines of this topic, said something like, if you're you gotta stop trying to do God's job. Like, stop taking his role. Like, we gotta stop trying to do God's job to fix somebody or focus on what they need to become. That it's not our role, and that there's no worse strategy in life for your own personal satisfaction than trying to do that. God tells us over and over that, give me back my job. Like, that's on me. He took that. That's on him. So I say, as a plan, like, sometimes I know me for sure. Amber, I've seen do it as well. It's kind of how we grew up. Our nature is like, I can get in the role of like trying to overly help somebody because I see something in them that they don't see. And I want to be able to help. But the dangerous line in that is what is your responsibility in that? Like, what is yours and what is theirs to hold on to? You can help, right? Like, you can help, take care of, spend time, but you got to do it with care and understanding and know what your role is, that this person could be removed from your life. You know, God's looking out for you. What your responsibility is it your responsibility to bring them somewhere you think you want them to be versus what they need or want? So as long as you're paying attention, it's not a bad thing for us to be the way we are, empathic and want to help. And you know, sometimes I think about humanity thoughts, like how can I save this bigger thing? But you know, what is my responsibility, right? And to who? If I try to help somebody and it's not the right time for them, that's not me. That's not on me. It's not on me to hold or carry any further than my efforts to put into witness somebody. So you have to focus on your purpose in this life. You know, there's a purpose for everyone we meet in this life. Test, teach, use you, bring the best out of you. You know, some of these people come in our lives to do these very things. Some people come in our lives to test us. Right? And when I say come in our lives, I'm saying God puts them there. Again, he wants you to slowly train you into being self-sufficient. Have faith in him that he's going to send you out in the wilderness and you're going to have to navigate and survive, that there's going to be things put in front of you to test you. There's going to be things put in front of you to teach you. Some people are going to be put in front of you to use you, quite literally. Again, that's not yours to hold on to. And some are going to be put in your life literally to bring the very best that you have out of you. Right? So sometimes, I believe anyway, sometimes the person that we think is sitting in front of us that should be or can be, or we think even is bringing the best out of us, could be the master is the one using you or teaching you or testing you, or it's not always what we know. It's what's really happening. So we have to be witness to like all the things and understand all the possibilities. You know, people are meant to be loved, and things are meant to be used. That's what the world is supposed to be like. We're supposed to be connected with one another, and people are supposed to be connected and helping each other as groups and wholes and villages. And in doing so, things around us are supposed to be used. People are supposed to be loved, and things are supposed to be used. You know, I think sometime in the current landscape that some of the issues that pop up is that things are being loved a lot more and people are being used a lot more. And we have full control of that. We have 100% control of it. Nothing that happens or switches or evolves is permanent. You know, I was talking to this guy the other day. He's like in his late 60s. A friend of mine. He was chatting about some stuff, and it was like deja vu. He was talking about something when he was like 19 or 20, and it was identical to something going on right now. Wasn't no different, zero difference. It was like deja vu for me just thinking about it, and all it did was prove to me that nothing's really changing any differently than it's always been. Us as humans have always been the same. We've had the same experiences for a long time. They look different. There's more things around us when they're happening, but like the core of the story isn't much different. That's why I don't believe that anything that like changes or evolves in this moment is permanent, and or that we don't have control of it in our immediate environment. So they say that environment has a lot to do with our mental health. But who controls our environment? I mean, if we're piss poor, yeah, exactly, Portia. Like if we're piss poor about it, attitude, we could say, well, the government, the president, shitty, the government, my local mayor, and my boss is an asshole. We could literally make a laundry list of the reasons why the environment we live in is just not conducive to my mental health or the town I live in. But wherever you go, there you are. I mean, move to Hawaii, move to Fiji. You think that's just going to change how the way you think and look at the world? If you had the same excuses when you left, you're going to have them when you drop down that plane right after the whole buzz wears off of being somewhere sunny and nice. You'll be laying in your bed and all of a sudden there you are again. Look, your brain's in the same place. So we're the only ones responsible for what happens to us and if we want to change something. You know, the enlightenment is to recognize your purpose and your part in it, your responsibility. You don't trust someone. You don't trust that someone is never going to betray you. You just trust that you'll be able to handle it when they do. Right? Like that's a huge one for me. Like when I heard that, it was like, that's the only thing that matters, right? It's not being so ignorant that you think that nobody should or will hurt you or will come into your life and do bad things or take advantage of you or use you or whatever. It's not that. It's not being ignorant to the fact that won't happen. It's being ready for when it does and being able to handle it and knowing your part in it and knowing, you know, let me look at my part in this. You know, I did everything that I honor in myself, right? Like I hold as a standard to myself. I didn't cross the line. I didn't fall into that trap. I didn't get angry. I didn't do these things. You know, I did all the things that I preach. I say I walked the line. I was actionable. It's not my part. You know, and that's why God's got your back. Sometimes people need to be removed from your life, even when it still stings. So I think us keeping our minds sharp and knowing the perspective, you know, like both sides of something. And that's what I think what message was really about, like understanding that that just because bad things happen in our life doesn't mean that we have any responsibility in them. Sometimes we do. You know, a lot of things I've done shitty were completely because of my choice. Sometimes things that happened bad to me were completely my doing. But I've had a lot of things happen to me that I couldn't understand. I just couldn't figure it out. Like, well, how is this even happening? But it's because I wasn't paying attention to the possibilities of it happening. Right? Like when I got into business and I started doing really well, for a long time, it was a struggle. I had to do it all on my own. It was a lot of hard work, a long time. And when I started to do well, I had somebody try to sue me. And they came after everything. And it was a very bad situation. They lied about everything. They lied that they made my logo when I made it 5 years prior. And I have a napkin with proof of my artist. This person didn't even know me then. They lied about all this stuff, just like deep-rooted evil shit, and tried to sue me and brought 5 cases against me in one federal court. I had to fight for my life to defend myself, to win the truth back, just to win and say that, no, that's a lie. I had to fight in court and spend a shit ton of money to prove that somebody else just lied about me. And luckily I won, but it financially destroyed me. But you know what the problem was? I was so upset about that. I was so upset that I let this person in. I was so upset that I trusted another person. I was so in my own head that whole time about how I fucked it up. And what I'm trying to say to you now is it has nothing to do with that. I just never took the time to think if I got successful that somebody might come at me. I was in my head like, if I got successful, I'd be able to help more people. People would be more praising the fact and want to join the movement, like this type of thing. I was so in my head about this trajectory of it that I never considered that somebody would do something vindictive like that, come at me. So when it happened, I couldn't handle it. But the more we're prepared for reality of life, you know, if I had went into that, or if I had a different mentor at the time, was like, yo, man, when you get good, people might come at you, or watch out for. If I had some of that, maybe that wouldn't have been so good. I could have watersheded it and just expected that's what happens. And that's the same with any relationship or people we meet every day or a job. If we can just expect that sometimes hardships are going to come our way, sometimes unexplainable things are going to happen. Sometimes your best friend becomes your enemy. Just what life is. Are you ready to handle it though? Because sometimes it's not, that wasn't on me. I took all the blame for it. I took guilt heavy on it, but it wasn't on me. Somebody bad tried to do a bad thing to me. And because I wasn't ready to handle or just expect it coming, it hurt me more than it hurt anybody. Like mentally, physically, like it was starting to destroy me. Now, hindsight, you know, if I have the tools and the foresight to just understand that something might come my way and prepare for both, hopefully it never does, great. But if it does, I'm prepared. I'm ready. You know, hopefully we run a village, our Connect Group village, in a way that we all protect each other and nobody's ever going to come through our gates trying to burn our house on fire. But hopefully that's what's going to happen. But unfortunately for our world, usually when somebody's doing really well, and not just financially, but mentally, physically, verbally, other hurt people want to hurt them. They want to see the world burn sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay, because that's just what the world we live in. If we were all happy, it'd be a weird place. It would be like Pleasantville, that movie. It's just weird. Everybody's house be the same. Everybody say the same thing every morning. You know, pressed pants every morning. Nobody have a wrinkle. Like, it would be a weird place. So the more we can just accept the fact that we live in a world that good and bad things are always going to happen, as long as we're ready for them. Biggest key is how we handle it. Can we handle it so it doesn't destroy our goodness? You know, the worst thing I've ever seen in my life is I've seen really good people I've looked up to, like people that I've like thought that never had a thing in the world happen to them wrong. Like, and that's probably a bullshit thing I made up in my head. But as I witnessed them, like, wow, this person just figured it out. They're happy always in their family. I've watched some of my people like that get destroyed by a situation I just explained to you and not recover. Ever. I've seen them flip a switch and go dark because they were not ready. They were in sunshine and flowers and rainbows and smiles that they couldn't even fathom that somebody would hurt them. That somebody would try to tear their life apart. And because they weren't ready, it completely changed their life. So it's like, that's kind of sad to see. And I don't think we should have that for anybody. I think we're in a situation that we just need to know our role in it, and that it's okay to not be okay for a minute, but it's definitely not okay to own that shit or own anybody else's shit for too long. Right? We have moments with people, and that's our time, and it is what it is. And we're gonna have millions more, or whatever it is. Like, Amber, you said something the other day about oh, yeah, great thing you said. It has nothing to do with me. Right? Like, that's pretty simple said. Like, this
I wish.
has nothing to do with me. Something that I did not take a part of. Like, I wasn't your partner in crime. So that's a different story. Take fucking accountability. If you're part of the problem, you're the problem too. But if truly you were a witness and you were trying to show up and you're trying to do something, you're trying to be there as the person we all know we could be, like, and you're trying to bring value, and somebody destroys that or just disgraces that or disrespects it or hurts it or just fucks you off, that's not yours. Right? Hurt people. We talk about that all the time. That's theirs. right? And it doesn't matter. It's not ours. You gonna say something, Amber?
Yeah, just to your point, in my journey, like I was always very attuned to what everybody felt and thought in a room, even when I was a little girl, but I didn't know what that meant. I just thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was too sensitive, or once I got older and the hormones started kicking, I felt entitled to, then say what I thought I felt or whatnot, which people were not ready to hear, and this and that. And look, we talk about it every week as far as like what our responsibility really is in humanity and under God, and to ourselves, is that it's just to model the love, right? Like when we realize that we can't save anyone and we can't change anyone, and that no matter what kind of lessons we can share with people, or how much we beg them, or how much light we can bring, or how much we can educate them, it's still, at the end of the day, they have free will just like we do, and they're on a journey from their own perspective. And sometimes it's mental health, sometimes it's they're not ready for the lesson, all these different things. But in growing as an empath and learning to separate myself from like always wanting to run into that burning building and help people because I was aware that people needed things, sometimes we get selfish, right? Because like we get that feeling like, oh, my little spidey senses went up and I feel that person and I know I'm supposed to connect with them, but I don't always know how. And
Right.
depending on if I'm weak or if I'm strong in a moment, sometimes I want to possess some of that for myself instead of being truly selfless like we're supposed to, like Jesus showed us in his example of life, is to sacrifice our own, and then we get rewarded by not choosing it for us, right? Like if we can just walk the line, we don't have to necessarily, sometimes we get romantically involved or we get emotionally involved with people we shouldn't, when we really, the trigger or whatever the spidey sense was, was inviting us in to help that person. But then if we get emotionally involved in them, and then we somehow, like you said, it like becomes part of our problem or part of what we
Right.
think is ours. And really that's just us distracting from what we're supposed to be doing, right? But also we're here to build relationships, so it's muddy waters sometimes, and then other times
Yeah.
it's like we find these people like in this group and like our true friends and people that really do go the distance. But I wish that someone had said to me a very, very long time ago about that. What other people think of you is none of our business, because it
Yeah.
made it so simple for me. It made it so simple for me, because I thought that like every rejection and every hurt and everything someone did that was mean or off color or not in congruency with the love that I was giving, I was so upset for like decades that the love that I was giving was not being matched by who I was giving it to.
Right.
And like I had a really good friend like tell me one time, and it's funny because we're not friends anymore, and this is obviously why she was in my life. She said there is no abandonment. People don't abandon you. They don't have any responsibility to you. No one has any responsibility to another person other than modeling love and humanity, basic humanity. If someone needs food or clothing or love or shelter or the simple things. But yeah, no one can leave us. And if the heart wants what the heart wants. People are in all different places. What they think of me has nothing to do with what my personal experience is here. And that's why, for me, I just continue to try to keep loving. But I've had some hard lessons too in
Yeah.
that, muddying the waters. But it's helped to know that, yeah, it's none of my business what somebody thinks of me. I gotta be okay with me and my path, and hope that I'm consistent enough that I can be some kind of model.
I mean, I'll give you this, I think is a funny story. This just happened twice to me in my life. I think I told you about one of them, remember this. But twice in my life, I got rejected from a woman, and
Twice.
no, like in this format.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I know why I got rejected by all the other women. I was a fucking but 2 times in my life, which blew my mind. The first time was very new. It was like on 2 dates or something with this girl. And at the end of the night, I asked her if she had a good time. She had a great time. We should do it again. And it seemed fine. And then she texted me like this long text, like the next day, like it was like a very complimentary. I've never heard somebody say so many nice things about me. And then this is why it's not going to work. And I was like, what the fuck? Just what was
One
that?
of those, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah, but like way nicer than that. Like said things that my ex-wife and my long-term relationships have never said to me, like nice things, like you're highly intelligent, all these things. And like went on, I was kind of reading like, oh, this girl's really into me. And at the end, it was like, I that's why I can't be with you. I don't think we have any. It's like, what the fuck? So that blew my mind. I was like laughing about it for days because I thought like how funny, how nice. I mean, it was nice. I was laughing because it was when you get broken up with, that's pretty cool. What you doing? And then another time, this literally, I couldn't figure out, like I couldn't get out of her an explanation. Like nothing was happening. We were good. And then out of the blue, she was like, I don't think we should talk anymore or something like this. I need time or space, something like that. And I asked her, I was like seriously, what is going on with you? It's like completely just out of left field, nowhere. She finally wrote, I don't remember how she says you what the fuck did she say? She was love bombing me. You were love bombing me and treating me so well. It was just overwhelming. And I just can't take it. And I was like, excuse me? What the fuck does that mean? Like you're not trained to be loved by somebody. And you know, the funny part of it was listening to it, because me in my head, I make jokes about everything like, oh, I was too nice to you. What a fucking miserable situation for you. Like, how miserable have you been? I was just so nice to you. But I tell you those 2 stories for the point of this message. I tell you because when other people aren't ready for us, they're just not ready. There's no reflection of who you are or who I am. You know,
Right.
the nice enough they said it nicely. Yeah, it's nice enough that they said it nicely in a way that they put out there exactly what I already know about myself. No, yeah, I was gonna say the same to you. I know, I do everything for you. But at least they recognize it. And the point of it is like, well, they're just validating what I already know about me. I will show the fuck up nonstop. I'll give unconditional love. I'll pursue and I'll come after. But no matter how good I am at that, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at any of that means, but like when I'm involved with somebody in that way, like there's nothing I can't do and won't do. But when somebody can't take it, they haven't learned yet how to receive love, or they're not ready for that, there's nothing you can do. You don't change the way you are. I'm not going to change and be more shitty or toxic or unavailable to appease a relationship. No, it's just God is paying attention. He sees things, he hears things, he makes moves that I wouldn't make. And my nature would be in that situation like, well, listen, the whole point of that is you've never had this before. So learn to be loved, and I'm still here. But what I've learned is, no, that's not my place.
Yeah, that's ego, kicking in and not listening to God's word, because we want or we get rejected from anything, then our ego kicks in and we want to prove something. And you know what? Nothing left to prove. I'm just me. Take me or leave.
That's my teacher. That's my teacher mentality kicking in. It's like, I want to, like, look, I know I've seen it happen. Like, I've done it. I've seen people do it. It happens. If you've never had something, it's scary. When you've never been there, you don't know. Like, I've been through all that. So my teacher mentality kicks in, like, look, every human can be trained to do anything if they want to be. And that's always the big thing, right?
Yeah. But you'll never, the person that's supposed to be for you, whether that's in a loving relationship or a partnership or a friendship, you'll never have to convince them
Correct.
why you're a good fit or
Yeah.
why be my
Right.
love for my friend. Or, and I think that when we do get rejected, we're so quick to say, oh, what did I do wrong there? What did
Right.
I do wrong?
Right.
Every time you put it back on yourself, like, oh, you know, like there must be something wrong with me, you know, and you always put it back. And then that's exactly why people stop being who they're supposed to be, because they think there's
100%.
something wrong with them.
I had a guy tell me I was
Short-term give up.
yeah, I had a guy tell me I was too much or whatever, like to a friend. He didn't know, like I was like in the room on speaker with the friend or whatever. And he was like, yeah, she's awesome, but like, she's just too much. Like, I can't, like, I don't know what to do with all that. Like, you got the people that only have one sentence mentalities in life. And it's
Right,
like,
right.
they can't, it's not that you're too much. It's that they're not enough. Like they can't show
Yeah.
up for a patient or
Right.
not emotionally available, or they're not willing to like make those leaps and bounds, even if they can look at you in awe and think, you know, you're amazing, you know, that's not where they are. And oftentimes
Fuck that.
people are self-sabotaging, you know, all day,
Fuck that.
depending on what their parent relationships were like or whatnot.
Right.
Hey,
And you're so worthy of being worthy and deserving and taking up space and using your voice and whatever that looks like. Like, and I think that, like Amber said, in the same, like with your two stories about being rejected in that sense, nobody can reject you, one, but like, I think about it this way, intimidation, like so many people get intimidated by somebody who shows up confident, who shows up ready to go, who shows up like,
yeah,
because, and then that's exactly why people like us in that sense, we get worried about hurting someone else's feelings because we show up who we're supposed to be.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I've been in that situation. I feel like, oh, geez, should I be that person that, you know, knows, go in there with the confidence because you know people aren't going to like it. And
Yeah.
that only they don't like themselves because they can't do that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
once you that, it took me a long time to learn that, you know, and like once you learn that, you're like, oh, well, they're just pissed off at themselves that they can't show up and be who they want to be.
Right.
And
Jason,
you know,
you must really struggle. Yeah, Jason, you must really struggle with this. You're like population of people out there because you're coming to your awakening and you have these deep feelings and you are spiritually connected and you're seeking, you know, these kinds of conversations and, you know, but you're like, you know, with the rest of the guys and stuff, it's got to be tough to.
Yeah, they kind of know how I am. So, but still, it's just like tonight, I walked in and there was a big roll up door in the shop there and they rolled it up, let all the heat out. And I said, what the heck? Now it's cold in here. Can't you just walk around? And they said, well, now we'll just be opening it up. So that's fine. I'll go sit in the rig. You know, I don't care. Whatever. It's just,
Hey,
I just get tired.
Hey, you're looking younger and healthier and more handsome by the second here, kid. You're like transforming right before our eyes. I don't even recognize you. You look good. How you doing?
I'm losing a little. I ain't got on the scales, but I can tell I'm losing weight, feeling better. I ain't had a pop in 2.5 weeks or so, and eating just little stuff. So
That's awesome.
we'll see.
Hey, I think to Amber's point to you, Jason, and what Portia just said, you know, us the way we are, having deep feelings or doing some deep work on yourself and having these conversations and finding safe people to talk to doesn't mean that it needs to stay in this conversation. It doesn't need to stay in this Zoom chat. It is okay. It's over with the whole feeling of I can't be myself around certain people.
Yeah.
I spent the first 8 years I moved from this place coming back every summer and throwing a Christmas party, and then winter I come back twice. So Christmas party and then pig roast in the summer. For like the first 8 years I moved. It was the only time I came home. I did it because I wanted to see all my people here at one time, gather them, do it, paid for it, the whole nine. And I just got really tired of the resentment and the bullshit from it. I wasn't getting out what I thought I was coming for. I thought I was sharing the fact that I left had success that with my friends and coming back and spending all the time with them. And what I started to do for the next 10 years I was coming home is I never brought anything with me. Never. I didn't bring any thoughts with me. I didn't bring any more than a couple sets of clothes with me. And I just sat next to my friends that stayed here and just had mindless conversations. Not one of them asked me how I was doing, where I'm living, how's my job, what do I do for a living, if I have a girlfriend. And it wasn't even their fault. I was feeling bad, like these guys don't want to talk about anything. It was what Portia just said. I was sitting there like, nobody wants to hear. Maybe it's not my place to bring my enlightenment or what I've learned or my education or real shit, deep shit to somebody. Maybe it's not my job. And maybe they're going to fucking be pissed if I do.
No one wants to hear.
I say
Yeah,
bullshit.
but there's
I
no
say
more
bullshit
making
to
people,
that.
no, there's no more being small. Like now we're in this new 5D reality where, you know what, bring it. And you don't have to bring it in a way that's like offensive. Like I don't walk into rooms and like bring up like politics or religion or like go straight to like talking about Christ or something. But I still challenge people to kind of meet me where I'm at, or I don't go to the places where it's just small or I have to
Right.
be small. I don't want to dim my light.
I think it's like you
Well-
being in energy, right? Like you showing up in the energy of who you are. And sometimes that's not even really even saying much, but it's
Right.
just you being in that energy of like, you're in,
100%.
you know what I mean? And like, because I know that you can walk into a room and you can have that energy and people be like, oh, I want what they want. Because
100%.
they feel it, right? They feel it and they're like, there's something about that person. And a lot of times they will get triggered. And I think you just have to remember that like in life, you're going to have like the people that are your confidants, right? They're going to love you unconditionally through your, like when you're in the valleys or when you're in the hills and you're very successful, and they're going to be there for you for that. And whether they've been successful or not, right? Because
Yep.
then you're going to have people that are like the constituents that are going to be as long as you're both like, I'll be for them if they're for the same thing that I am. But as soon as you're not for what they are, like they
Yeah.
go and somebody else. Do you know what I mean? And
Our
like you just,
Constituents. I love it.
you just have to remember that like I just think that you have to go back to like if somebody doesn't want what you have or what you have to offer,
Fuck
we
them.
are we're not gonna
Yeah.
beg,
Fuck
they're
them.
not beg you to like in my life. Like when the
I
door
feel like they're so also have you ever been in those situations? I think we've probably all been in these situations. I know Mike just went through something recently, and I know I went through this, like when we're blinded kind of like by those intriguing things or those that trigger those spidey senses that even attract us to anyone at all, whatever it is, a job, an opportunity, a person. Oops, sorry, I'm having difficulties. You know, and then oh my God, when we can see them for who they are all of a sudden for the first time, and it's like, oh my God, thank God, because
Right.
I don't, how much energy would I continue to spend on that person where I was just living in some weird blind space, whether I was grieving or I was distracting or I didn't want to deal with myself.
Right.
And then, but when you see it for what it is, like the wolf in sheep's clothing or whatever it is, you're like set free because it's like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Like, I don't even want that life. Like if I had actually, I can have it. Here's another thing I've learned about myself, and this is scarier. I can have anything I want. Like I could have pursued anything, even once I saw what it was. And for like my ego's sake, or like just to have it or possess it or get it or win the person over or whatever, because I am that powerful on some level. But then what? Just for the sake of having it. And then I'm stuck with a person. Like, thank God for the next person that got that person or whatever that now has to worry where they are or what they're doing or who, you know, like I didn't even want the outcome of that. I don't need to win just to win or like, you know, have somebody to just to have somebody or like, you know, why? There's so many other places where my light and energy are useful.
Yeah.
I think that when you're able to know who you are better, when you keep learning about yourself more, you're able to discern. You're able to have better judgment, and you can pick up on these people, and you can be like, you know, that person is for me. That person I might, you know, get curious about, and then I know this is not for me. Do you know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
that also that like what Amber had said, that when you have to remember, like I think stepping back into your power, learning about who you are, and knowing that you are probably going to intimidate people, like knowing that that's okay, and just like learning to I think it's just like because it can be very intimidating on our end to walk into a room that we know that we are going to intimidate people on, because we're
Yeah.
so, we get back into that, like, okay, I don't want to, like, I don't want to put that on people, but it's also part of why we're here, right? And we did the work to be able to
Right.
step into that and to say, this is who I am and I can own it, right? And then just own that and know
That's the gray area.
other people, it's like it's their triggers and it's not their stuff. It's their stuff, not mine. It's their stuff, not mine.
It's the gray area we have to live in. If we choose what we're doing now to stay enlighten our own worlds and like our own minds and do self-work and we're deep carers and thinkers, that you're going to live in a grayer world than the rest of the people.
Yeah.
Mindless thoughts live in black and white. When you care a lot about yourself, you care a lot about others, you're going to find yourself in areas you need to keep your eyes open to, because we're still going to be attracted to hurt people because we want to help.
Absolutely.
Is recognizing that hurt person early and your responsibility to them.
Right. And how far you dive into it and how let it.
God says give his job back. Give his job back. It's not your duty.
Yeah. Mike, do you remember above grandma's, in grandma and grandpa Midwinter's bedroom above the bathroom, they had the serenity prayer. And I must have read that thing like 50,000 times in my life, like just through growing up or whatever. And just read it just because I was in the room playing with their brushes or going through their drawers or whatever the hell I was doing, bouncing on the bed or whatever. So I just read it, every day, a couple times a day. God grant me the serenity to, accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that particular prayer, and when I really figured out what that meant, is everything. It's everything we're talking about. It's being those sensitive people throughout the rest of our lives, being triggered, having those spidey senses, feeling everybody in the room. There's going to be certain people that we can help on some level. There's going to be certain people that we can love on some level. There's going to be certain people that we absolutely cannot do anything for at all, like immediate, like 3-second rule, like train wreck. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing. And I have to turn around and walk away because I could get sucked into a sinkhole with this person. Like, doesn't matter what I did, I wouldn't be able to help them, know? But that's really it. It's that discernment, like what Portia said. And it's about really just always reading the room and reading what's in front of you and knowing what's truly possible based on, what we know so far. And mostly we can't help anyone,
Well,
Christ, think about how many people threw stones at Christ. Think about how many people betrayed him. Think about not just Christ, Buddha, Martin Luther King, John Lennon. I don't care who you are. Anybody who stood on a pedestal for something that was outside of what the sheep or the constituents, as you said. I love that.
To bring up leaders, what you're saying is all the leaders in history have always talked about the same thing too, about their haters. They have talked about that. It doesn't matter if they like you or follow you at the time, they're paying attention. And, and why I say that, I told you this the other day when we were talking. Any attempt is not a failed attempt, even if you failed at the attempt. So if you went into a relationship and you tried to help somebody and you failed on the paper and terms, and it went so bad.
What we talked about is love lost
because
on people.
The brain always prioritizes stuff and keeps memory of life. If Amber shows up in somebody's life and that person, whatever, fucked up and like ended up, you never talk to them again, I promise you, just like everybody else at night, when they lay their head in the pillow and they have those nights where we all have, and we go through our life and memories and things, you're popping up. And sometimes it's in a good way, like, what did I do? Why didn't I recognize that person? I needed her. I can't believe I lost her. I can't believe she's not my friend anymore. The difference between that person's decision tomorrow, doing nothing about it, and us,
I
do something about it.
Right.
If that person really was a light in my life and I missed it the first time, I ain't fucking around and missing it again. If I'm thinking about it 5 years later and I'm the one, then I'm at least reaching out and making sure that person's
just with some gratitude, period. Like, I don't want anything from you. I just want you to know I forgive you. I'm grateful for the moment we shared, and God bless.
There is no failed attempt. There's no
Very
failed attempt.
Right, right. I think too that when you're willing to step into your leadership and what you're deserving of and what you know that you're worthy of, because so many people settle in their lives. They settle in their relationships, in their marriage, they settle in their work, finance, they settle in everything, right? Because they just don't believe that what they want is out there, and they keep it and I think fear, and they fear of rejection. But if you're willing to step into that role of who you know you can be and you want to grow, you also have to know that not everybody that you met along the way is going to come with you.
Of course.
And you just have to be willing to know that those relationships, they're going to end, and you have to let go of that. You know what I mean? And you have to know that every relationship, we always talk about this, it teaches us something, right? It's always, there's a lesson in those, and there's always a blessing, right? Maybe
And back to leaders and back to lighthouses. Lighthouses shine so that ships don't crash into the shore. They don't shine for themselves. They don't shine for their owner. They shine so that the ships out there in the storm can see the safe port. And that is what, it's about.
Right.
Singular responsibility. God didn't put us here in pairs. And so
Right.
you're gonna walk the earth with. Go ahead, Jason.
And people,
I said that's the reason, like, sometimes you're always the outcast, like at work or wherever.
Yes.
Just being yourself
Fuck
and
yeah.
Yeah.
fall into the group.
You know what Pitbull is, Jason?
I don't want to be part of the group.
well,
You know,
I'm
what
okay.
Pitbull is?
Pitbull,
Yeah.
yes.
You heard of the
And-
rapper
and you-
Pitbull? He says, if you don't have haters, you ain't doing shit in your life.
right, you ain't
I
doing it.
agree. If
You
people,
ain't doing a
I don't,
goddamn thing for this earth.
if everybody likes you, you are doing something wrong. I cannot stand that. I hate,
People
such a
believe that.
good point.
You have no boundaries, and as soon as you set a boundary, and if somebody gets triggered by that, because people are going to get triggered by, hey, this is who I am, and this is what I want, and this is what I value, and as soon as you set that boundary and it triggers somebody, you have to know, setting that boundary, it's going to put up that potential that this person, that might be it, right? This might stop the relationship, whatever.
Right.
You just
That
have
even
to
happens. That even happens sometimes in long-term relationships or even familial relationships. It's that, people are very confused by personalities like ours, because I think, that people have a misconception as to what good people are. Like, I get a lot of crap from a lot of people. I have a lot of people in my life from all over the country and the world. And, people sometimes, if they don't know me well and they think they know me, they think I'm all unicorns and, fluffy, la, 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 lulu. I'm all positive vibes and everything. It's like, no, you're missing the whole thing. Just because you're good, or your intentions are good, or you're trying to be of service or be humble or be grateful, or those things, does not mean that you're all balloons and freaking unicorns. And yeah, I say fuck, and I mess up, and I can also eat your face in about 3 seconds and destroy your soul if I want to, but I choose not to do that. And it's like, people just get confused. And even long-standing relationships, it's like they think you're one way, like you're supposed to be some guru, or you're supposed to be, all knowing, or so smart, or so nice, or so kind, or whatever. How can you how can you stand up for yourself right now? Or how can you draw a line? Or how can you shut me out? Or how can you have a formed opinion or whatnot? And it's like, you're not getting it. If I have to explain all that to you, then that's the problem.
And people like the powerless, right? And as soon as you step into something that you believe in, people are always going to be like, oh, that's so stupid. Like, look at what that person's doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you think to yourself, exactly what Gary Vee always says, well, fuck them, because they're not doing anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter.
And
You know what I mean?
99% of the people leave the room and do no action.
The people that are following their own dreams, they don't have time to worry about what you're doing.
Right.
You know, those people that that see you on social media or something, they have something to say about it. They're just pissed because they're not doing it. And once you just like have to really truly believe that, you just like, great. I welcome all of that. I welcome all of it, because it's going to come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so-
the other thing is too, is I've said, even in current relationships that I'm in now, right now, like, if you think that anybody is getting as much love and attention as you're getting in front of me, like you don't understand how blessed you are, because I mean, I could turn this on anybody. It is a lighthouse. I could shine it in any direction at any time. And if I am choosing to shine it, if I'm choosing to shine it on you, wow, it's not because I'm not, that's not coming from ego, like, oh, I'm so special or whatever, but you don't understand the asset you have. How often in life does somebody, like, we all get this, the four of us for sure, because we are 150% these people, but like, how often is it that anybody shows up like, hey, I'm here to help?
Never.
Never.
These
Nobody
four
just, people don't just
Yeah.
show up like, yeah, all
Right.
right, dude, I got it all done.
themselves aside.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, you mentioned 3 years ago you wanted to build a Youre. I did it, or whatever, you know, for you, like, or whatever, like, you know,
Yeah.
so,
Well, and
you know, again, people don't realize, and you know what? It's none of our business.
Yeah, and I think as soon as you set the boundary, someone's like, "Oh, they're an asshole.
Oh,
Like-
immediately.
They're a bitch. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, no,
Easy.
no,
Easy.
who I tell you who I am. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
We're talking about all the easiness in life is to wallow. Like it's easy to wallow in your own guilt, pain, and shame. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to be mad at somebody doing something you've been trying to do for years, but you never took action to do it.
Yeah.
Easy. It's just easy.
Right, and-
I've never felt that way much, but
no, have I?
I know what it looks like because I've seen it.
I
I've
love
seen-
the,
I've seen
Absolutely.
people come at other people
That's
about
most
like,
imperative. That's most
like how
people's.
did, yeah, how did you get that? Why do you
Yeah.
deserve that? Like, what have you done? Like, oh, you're so lucky. Am I lucky or?
No,
yeah,
it's hard
you
life.
should
hard.
live. Yeah, if you felt what I felt most of my life, you'd feel like you should have been in an insane asylum. Yeah,
that's
cool.
Bring it.
thing. They
Yeah,
think everybody is worthy and deserving of whatever the hell they want, whatever that looks like, because we are the creators of our life. And if they're not going after the life that they want, that's their own problem.
I
You-
love the. I don't know where it came from or who wrote it or whatever. I feel bad. We're all
Probably me, but good.
we're all like super plagiarists these days, but I see this all over, and I always snapshot it every time I see it, and it really resonates with me. It says, stay away from the still people, still broken, still complaining, still making
Right.
excuses, still doing the exact same thing they were doing 20 years ago, still, they're still, it's stagnate.
and-
And if you think about that in Ayurvedic or 5,000 years worth of Chinese medicine, that they say that all disease, dis-ease, begins
Right.
in stagnation or exaggeration, which is stillness,
Not moving.
stillness or
Right.
explosiveness.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so, you know, got to be somewhere, you got to
It's
be
not
always
moving, you
swinging that
die.
pendulum.
You stop moving, you die. I'm
Yeah.
gonna give you one more pit bull fucking.
Right. And how energetically draining is it to go and sit with someone who is complaining and telling you the same story over and over?
And
Same
they
thing.
can't even hear themselves talking. Like, shut. I mean, did you even ask how I am? Like, I'm sorry.
And that's just when you know, like, you can have compassion, you can have empathy, but
Yes.
you cannot let that take you over and be like, okay, I'm gonna entertain that every week. You know,
I
and that's
constantly ask people like, what, okay, this is the last I'm going to hear what you have to complain about. I heard you. I hear what your problem is. Now, the only thing I'm willing to hear going forward is a solution or some kind of solution.
Right.
Right. because that's like
Yeah.
a true, honestly.
You know what the remedy to ugly is? When people feel like they're ugly, and I don't mean like just physical appearance, when they're feeling dark and ugly. This is also from Pitbull. This guy's a genius here. Listen to his, like, besides his music. He says,
Besides his nickname, Pitbull, stupid.
yeah. He's one of the best speakers ever.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable. But he says ugly is the remedy is just you gotta love yourself. And that's the acronym for ugly. You gotta love yourself.
Well, I think what it
You
comes
can
back
say
to,
LV, and he means,
yeah,
look, when the person is across from you, like we've been talking about, this whole message is across from you, and they're not ready or willing or caring enough in their own life for you to accept any of this, a conversation, or you're just, it's too much for me. I just want to drink my beer in silence and be numb. Or when it's like that, it's because there is no
self-love.
lack of it, self-love. So it's not our weight to carry around. We're not supposed to sit next to somebody, feel them, take responsibility in fixing them, and then pick up their briefcase and wait and walk away with it. We're just supposed to be our energy, like Portia said, in that space, be us as much as we want to contribute, and then exit that space. And if they come, which means how many people you think Jesus came across that were just destroyed as human beings on planet Earth?
Oh my
Right.
God, the lepers.
You think he went back to his
Oh,
hotel at night and just cried himself to sleep?
Yeah.
yeah.
And people
No.
that did with him.
The point of not going home and crying yourself to sleep because you've witnessed so much bad is to go back and say, like we talk about this all the time, remember being an empath, you can't take the weight with you. You're just supposed to be in the presence of it, feel it, know what's going on with that person,
Right.
try to help them better, and then you gotta leave, so you're gonna get wasted.
Yeah.
By the time you walk home and carry all their weight home, your arms freaking tore off.
Yeah. No.
And that's what people that don't know the skill do today. When they don't know that what empathy is, and they don't know how it works, and they don't know what that gift is you're given, they think it's supposed to take on as much as you can from everybody else, take everybody else hurt, and then I'm just a toxic human being. I can't even control my panic attacks and my suffering and my things, and I'm like, I'm overwhelmed, and now I'm sick.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
not being an empath, because you
And
can't.
now you're helpless, and that's part of the empath's journey. Look, you have to first, identify what the hell it is, and
Right.
and yeah, it's gonna, for a while it is scary. It's like somebody gave you LSD or something. You got to figure out what is going on. Why am I carrying the weight of the world? But when you really truly step into ascension and your journey towards it to get home, you have to take the responsibility of, okay, well, if I'm sick, I can't help anybody. And so I have to identify, okay, what is anxiety really? Anxiety is something inside our nervous system telling us to move.
Right.
If we're not, it's something
Right.
that we're not doing.
Change something.
Right. That's
And
what anxiety is that it's telling you it's time to move.
Right.
And if you just sit in it and then you're like, I can't, the whole weight of the world. Well, cool. You're going to get swallowed by it. And look, I'm not making fun of it because it is a real thing. And it does really, it's terrifying for the moment. But if you're going to just choose, well, then I'm going to live with this. This is my prognosis. I don't, Michael and I, we all have a choice. And it all is rooted in deep-seated emotion, and it's much deeper than the physical manifestation that comes up after the fact.
Right. I think that when you know who you are, it's your responsibility, like, to show up in every room as yourself, right? Because you have that responsibility to those other people, even if it doesn't go anywhere, right? Even if it doesn't go with those people, like, because that's the contract you signed, right? That's I'm going to show up as me, fully me, who I'm supposed to be. And I think, think of you rejoice, rejoice, rejoy, enter more joy. And we are worthy of living in that joy, whether other people are happy or not. You know what I mean? Because I think sometimes it's very easy to feel like, oh my God, everybody around me is not happy, or how could I possibly be doing very well or successful or have X, Y, and Z when all these other people are hurting? But let's
that's a very Catholic, that's actually very antiquated Catholic. When you talk about our parents' generation, they were all like, well, it was actually shameful to be happy for our parents, especially if you were from an Italian Irish household that was Catholic. It was nobody can be too joyful because Aunt Ginny's goiter. Nobody was allowed to be happy. It was a weird guilt thing.
Right. I mean,
no.
You have to celebrate your own life. And sure, it doesn't mean you don't have compassion and empathy for what someone else is going through, but it just goes back to you staying true to who you are and not thinking that you have to become somebody different to fit in, to shrink, to be with the rest of the world. I mean, and a lot
you only
of times,
can help somebody so much.
Right.
A lot of times you choose to be the leader. You're the one leading, right? You're the one leading. So you're not going to always have a lot of people there to be with you, to be in that space with you, and even understand who you are.
And not letting it define us when we can't get what we want from a person. Okay, bye. I mean, I love you. I'll be here. If you decide that, something more came up for you and you want to discuss it or something, that's great. And I don't even hate you. It's like, that's a great feeling too. Is you don't even have to hate somebody for not getting it. You can just simply become indifferent. I am detached from outcome. What you feel and do is none of, my business, and good luck. God bless.
So I'm gonna
Having love for yourself and what you're worthy of. Like, we are so good at putting ourselves in things that are beneath us and just being like, okay, and being okay with that, and just
that's God's daily challenge.
I'm going to give you a quick little list of relationship check-in stuff. So this is anybody, not just romantic relationships. This is everybody. So a checklist to go through and constantly think about in all your relationships is having massive insight into what it is, who it is, why it is. Obviously, self-awareness. We talk about this all the time. Having self-awareness is huge in being in any relationship, because the people that don't have self-awareness end up living the other person's life. They seek out what they're missing in theirs, or not willing to find out in theirs, and lean on it over there. And that's why they're so attached to the outcome of it. So massive insight, self-awareness, checking in with the other person constantly to see where you guys stand. The biggest two things I think are terrible relationships in general are not checking in with friendships and vague text messaging. Everything gets lost in space and time, meaning we haven't talked and now we're both thinking why we haven't talked. And maybe that person's going through something, so like, oh, does Mike hate me? And it has nothing to do with anything. Or just shitty, like important things over text are not the way to go. So checking in constantly. If you have something important to say, you got to check in so you know where you guys are at. Consistency. We talk about this all the time. Consistency of who you're going to be. Not when it's convenient for you. You don't just show up and say you build resentment and you tell them to fuck off because they're not showing up for you. Not consistency. That's selfishness in a very vindictive way. It's, I'm going to do all these things, and if this fucker doesn't show up for me, fuck them. No. Consistency is over time, no matter who abuses you. You become you. You walk in the same room with the same energy you always had, and that's it. Okay? The next one is mutuality. So meeting both people's needs constantly. Both mutuality. Like, you got to meet both needs, and that's part of the check-in. Emotional regulation. Another one. You got to be checking this, and then obviously if you're in a romantic relationship, but to be romantically competent. That's a big one. This is a big one. This is going to sound weird, but like when it comes to sex, I have read everything. I want to know everything. I want to know what people have done, what they don't do, what works, what doesn't work, what things I've never heard of. I want to know it all.
Bro, that's not weird.
Okay, but I'm awkwardly addicted to it, and I push myself. Anyway.
It's okay.
Are you blushing? Like, seriously? Okay.
No.
All right.
Romantically competent is proven. If you read anything about sex life and the things, it's one of the hardest things for couples to talk about. Really. Like,
right.
truly.
And it can't be. It
like,
has
to really say out loud what you want. I don't care if it sounds fucked up or not.
Right.
What you want, or what you desire, or what turns you on, and what they want to, and find some mutuality in that. Otherwise, fuck, dude, you're closing off so much mental, physical, decision-making, health benefits that are proven scientific facts. It's because it comes down to the shame of sharing. And when you can't be open about something that's so important between two people, which is your sex life, romance, all that, when you feel a little embarrassed to bring stuff up of how you want or what you want, it becomes an underlying issue for a long time. And it can.
But it's not just, that's such a broader, like, let's not go down a rabbit hole. Okay. Like, I get it. That's great about sex, but about that's
what?
on all, that's just another conversation for another time. But on the same subject, all the way across the board for all of us, it comes down to, I have to love myself enough, no matter what relationship I'm in, either with any one of you or my lover or anybody in my entire life, to say, I believe that if I tell you the truth about what I need, you will still love me, period.
Right, 'cause
That's really what it comes down to. We're afraid to tell even our friends what we need because we don't think that they'll stick around. They think it's like too much or pathetic or something. If like, I need a little bit more, could you call me? Like, I really liked when we talked every day or whatever.
That's part of the 5 things
we
before.
step into
Yeah, no,
that.
I know. I just don't want to go down the rabbit hole of just the sex conversation.
We have to be more
Somebody's
vulnerable.
uncomfortable.
What?
Somebody's uncomfortable.
No, I'll talk about it all day, but that's
Understand
like a
better.
whole, that's its own conversation.
Vulnerable, because if you aren't getting what you need, then you're dimming part of you, right? You're settling. And especially in sex, if you're settling, you're never going to be happy in the relationship. You're never going to have the connection and compatibility, and it's never going to work. It's just never going to work.
It's the 7 things I just listed. I ended it on sex because that was the tangible one between relationship and romantic relationship. But it's 7 things, period. And they go like this collectively in a circle. It's not one or other. I did romantic competency last because that's the only one that goes both ways. If you're in a romantic relationship or just a friendship. But all 7 are important. Drop the 7th one off if you're not having sex with your best friend. I hope you're not. Especially if it's a guy or whatever. But add the 7th one because it's part of it. Like if you do those 7 things you're constantly doing, in the check-in, sometimes you'll find out the stuff you need to know about the other one, or vice versa. Or so doing those check-ins, insight, your self-awareness, checking in constantly, the consistency, the mutuality, emotional regulation, and the romantic competency. If you're doing those all together, then you really are doing what we're doing every week.
Right. And I think that when you open up the door of vulnerability, you're opening up another door for someone else to be vulnerable. You know, you're paving that way and you're making a safe space. And you're saying, hey, this is safe for you to tell me what you need or what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And to know that we can either figure this out, and who's ever committed, whether it's a friendship or a partnership, whatever that looks like, whatever you're trying to get your needs met, whatever, if you're committed and you're willing to put your whole self in to be committed to it, then you'll come up with a solution to whatever it is that you need and have that.
And sometimes the other person will decide that they don't want to deal with it because they're too stressed out because they got work or they got this, they got whatever. So yeah, it is what it is.
Sometimes they can't.
Sometimes you want to just know what you want to know. That's the whole point of all this. We don't have to keep going, but the whole point of it is if you don't know and you live in doubt, that's much more harmful for your personal space than just putting something on the table and saying, this is what I want. Doesn't mean that I have to have it. It's about putting it out and seeing what happens in the conversation and where it can go. And then, you know what? Dang, maybe being surprised and like the same thing the other person was thinking. That's a good feeling.
Right.
You ever told somebody something and they loved you for it? Those are good feelings.
Right. And sometimes the person who needs to open that, right?
Yeah. Unlock.
Sometimes people are waiting for you to say, like they're waiting for someone else to initiate it.
Yeah.
Most often not.
You gotta unlock the key to what's ready. And it's not with everybody. You don't share it with everybody. You share it with the people close to you, the relationships that matter, the ones you've already vetted, the ones you've already witnessed, not the poison people. You don't come out of the gates like a racehorse and start fucking dumping your shit on somebody.
No.
That's not the point. No. It's these relationships. It's the one we share. It's the one we have close to us. So constantly checking with each other like we do every Monday, you know, Zoom meeting at your own house. All right, I gotta go. I gotta drive to Virginia tomorrow.
Love you guys.
I drive to Virginia tomorrow.
Okay, call me.
All right.
I'm coming to get I want to look at the Jeep. Okay, love you. Bye.
All right. Love you guys.
See you, Jason.
Love you, Jason. Bye. Portia, I hope you feel better.
God bless.
Bye.